I will try to present you a few activities and pointing out a few highlights from the past 12 months, what we have been doing in the TKFDM. First of all, it was mentioned a couple of times this morning already, our RefoDat repository, a repository for research data in Thuringia, which was launched in November on November 1st last year. It involved quite a lot of development, although it was based on some existing infrastructure available at the library here in Jena, but it was still a new project, and a number of requirements were different from the existing ones, and it took us quite some time to get that launched. There will be a separate talk on that tomorrow in the morning, so I won't be giving too much detail here. We had a short introduction, a sort of an online kickoff event on last year in December, which is also available on YouTube. And we also had this year 2 hands-on workshops, how to use that repository, which was 2-hour sessions, one in German, one in English. And we'll probably do that again also in the future. And with that, I will leave it for this topic and refer you to everything else on the next day tomorrow. Moving on to our next larger project on infrastructure, which is the introduction of a electronic lab notebook, in particular eLab FTW, hosted at the IT Center of the Thuringian Universities. It was launched in the beginning of this year. Currently, it's only available at the University of Jena, but we are working on getting more universities on board. Next up in line will be the Technical University Ilmenau and the Bauhaus University Weimar. It is based on a cooperation between the TKFDM, so ourselves, the German Hochschul IT Center of the Thuringian Universities, and ZEDEF, which is another research data and research software entity at the University of Jena, who is doing the coordination. And it's also part of our projects, of course, and we're quite happy that we are moving on, although, as usual, we wish things to be faster, but nevertheless, we're getting there. Also, last year, we had funded a custom development with the core developers. That might be worth noting. They developed an additional feature, single sign-on, which was not available and which is now available to everyone since it's an open source project. The next highlight I would like to mention here are the research scales. This is one of our top sellers, I would say, on open educational resources, and I guess many of you know that already. It's a card game on the one hand, but it's also an event that we have with the Data Horror Week every year. And we released version 5 of the Scary Tales, which included 5 additional stories. And also we managed to make the individual stories more machine readable with TOML files. And also another thing we added in version 5.1 is the categorization with keywords and scientific disciplines. So you're now able to search for specific things within the Scary Tales if you are interested only in, for example, issues regarding backup, for example, or storage or data loss. I don't know whether that's exactly the keywords, but you get the point, I think, that we added some further information to filter and search for specific topics. And we would like to make that whole thing, the whole Scary Tales project, openly available. It's not there yet, but we will put everything on the Git repository and provide that to the community. Currently, you can, of course, download everything from Zenodo. It's all there, but we would like to put that whole project more into the community and not just manage it ourselves. If you're interested in more details, there's also a poster available, also available on Zenodo. And yeah, maybe I'll leave it with that. Our next highlight was just the topic before the lunch break, which was presented, and it's the FAIR assessment tool that was developed by TKFDM. If you haven't been attending that session, it is a tool we developed based on the RDC tool. So RDC stands for the Australian Research Data Commons. It was developed some years back. It has got recently an update, but we took one of the earlier versions and developed that further. And also that is available online for you to be used, but also the source code is available on GitHub. So if you missed that presentation before lunch, then you can wait for the YouTube recording, which will be available soon. And next thing I would like to mention is our Data Steward project with Stefan Kirsch and Kevin Lind, also here today. You can see the faces right now. There are the few cameras that are on. Yeah, this is one of the objectives of the project. You have heard about that, is to support working groups and projects with individual RDM solutions. So working groups can apply to get support with a very easy, simple application process. And then depending on the kind of support that is requested and our availability and capacities, we try to provide that support, or the two of them, to all universities in Thuringia. There has been also quite an engagement with the community, the data stewards community, and some exchange of experience last year. And the two of them also providing some additional training courses to individual groups, for example, the Git course. And yeah, they also contribute largely to the establishment of the statewide services or statewide infrastructure. So they're kind of the link between the infrastructure providers and the research groups, trying to make that fit. So they're also heavily involved in REFODAT and ELAB FTW developments. And yeah, if you want to learn more about that particular thing, that particular project, you will have the chance today afternoon at 2:30 p.m. And they will provide you more details. And the next up is the FDM Hawk project of the Thuringian Universities of Applied Science, where we have a close collaboration within TKFDM on, yeah, let's say 5 different areas. One is in terms of communication. So we do collaborate on awareness events. We do some collegial counseling. And in terms of training, we had some common workshops or joint workshops together, for example, on spreadsheets and OpenRefine last year. We also work together on developing the service landscape in terms of IT services, with a specific focus on the ones that are available or not available with the Universities of Applied Sciences. And because that's a very heterogeneous landscape, and it needs some further development there. And yeah, also in terms of data publication and archiving, the colleagues from that project are involved in the RefoDat testing, for example, and also contributed there, among others. And in terms of networking community work, the colleagues on the Hawk project are also quite engaged in networks, specifically targeting University of Applied Science. And again, a teaser, there is another presentation at 2 p.m. today, where you can learn more details about things going on there. And yeah, we do have some more areas of activities over the past few years. And one of them is events and workshops, like the one you are in right now. And last year we have been active, no, this year, sorry, last year too, but I'd like to mention this year. In the Love Data Week, this time we contributed 3 different workshops and a coffee lecture that were organized within that week. And we have our, let's say, almost tradition of having a coffee lecture series every semester. So in the winter semester, we had a coffee lecture series on the legal acts regarding or related to data that have been published by the European Commission. We had some guest speakers there, and this year's summer semester coffee lecture series is sort of targeting or revisiting RDM fundamentals, but this time in English. We had similar series some years back in German. We noticed that people are requesting similar things in English, and we kind of updated the previous ones and added some also new ones, and presented that in a whole series. And yeah, again, we had, we still have actually the FAIRest Dataset Award, which you will see the award ceremony right after this presentation. And the RDM days, I don't need to mention because we are right there at the moment. Some further activities are in terms of outreach. We had I already mentioned that the Data Horror Week again last year with the Scary Tales stories. So, we also have a lot of activities on social media. We X'd X, so we left Twitter, also called X, last year, and moved on to a Mastodon channel and a Blue Sky channel, and also on LinkedIn we are present. So feel free to follow us there. And yeah, I think there's no need to mention that all presentations or material that we create is available on our Zenodo TKFDM community, and also all recordings are put on YouTube. And you will find the links here. You will get, as usual, the presentation and get the links there. But of course, everything is also available on our website, which I should have mentioned here as well. In terms of RDM community engagement, there's also a number of activities. There were a number of activities over the past 12 months. So we had some poster presentations on the SAX FDM conference, another presentation at FDM at Campus in Göttingen. And we were also involved in the thematic week on digital skills in research. That was invited by the Volkswagen Foundation in Hanover last year in December. And again, some other posters at the eScience Days in March this year. And yeah, we co-organized, or at least some people of us co-organized a conference in Jena called the Fellowship of the Data. It was quite successful on as a community event, bring together a lot of RDM experts and enthusiasts. And there's probably more, but I think it's enough to mention at least some of them. And that brings me already to my last slide on those activities. You may ask, what is, how does the TKFDM continue over the next couple of years? I should perhaps note that originally our funding was scheduled until the end of this year. We managed to get an extension for 1 year with some cost neutral extension for 1 year until the end of next year at the current structure. But we also had quite some, let's say, strategic work going on internally. And we produced a strategy paper with some scenarios that was presented to the strategy committee of digital research, which is our advisory board, let's say. In German, it was called the Strategierat. That's the right translation. But based on that, we try to stimulate the discussion how things will evolve over the next years. And the planning for post 2026 are still ongoing. They're still not fixed because the general negotiations between the state government and the universities in Thuringia are currently ongoing. They're working on a Rahmenvereinbarung 6, which is the next one for the next 5 years. And the process is still not finished, but we hope to be part of that. And signs are quite positive so far, but we don't have a fixed result yet. And with that, I would leave it for now. And thank you for your attention. We have the 6th FAIRest Dataset Award, so the 6th year in a row. We had this award going on for some time. So we usually offer that or publish that in February, March, and then people have time to submit their data sets until something in April, sometime in April. And then we do some evaluation and assessment of the submitted data sets and try to find a winner. So regarding the evaluation process, maybe a few comments on that. We usually take a first assessment with a fair assessment, a self-assessment tool. This year, for the first time, we used our own TKFDM fair assessment tool that I mentioned earlier. And this is usually done by 2 individual people. Once that is done, we also use the Fuji tool for another assessment to get some idea. Once the results are there, we do have a comparison and a verification of these results. Since these tools are not 100% reliable, and we need to kind of check the results thoroughly. And we try to identify then the top 3 data sets, the top 3 submissions. And from that top 3, we enter into a discussion and try to select the winner. Usually it's quite some process. Also this year we had a number of submissions, so it was there were some choices to choose from, but the differences are quite small, especially on the top 3. And now probably ask who the winner is, and we can now release that. And it's Tobias Gebler from the University of Jena, and also from the Fraunhofer Institute of Applied Optics and Precision Engineering. Congratulations, Tobias, for this award. And we are very happy that you and your colleagues had such a excellent submission, we have to say. And the data set Tobias and his colleagues submitted was benchmarking of fluorescent lifetime measurements using time frequency correlated photons. And I have to admit, I don't know much about that domain, and I'm happy that Tobias already switched on his camera, perhaps to tell us more what this is about than what he did and his colleagues to make that fair and to really achieve that award. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much for the positive evaluation of our data set. So I'm very happy that we win the award this year. So I present also like 2 or 3 slides to explain what we did and why we did the data, or why we put effort on the data set again. So yes, so as you can read, so it's a collaboration not only from the University of Jena, it's also together with the Fraunhofer here in Jena, with the Leibniz IPHT, and also with the Technische Universität in Darmstadt. And it's a physical theme, it's physical research topic, or in the benchmark of like quantum research, which is an ongoing topic in the last couple of years and will be also in the next years, I would say so. What we did in the research is we are investigating the excitation of fluorescence. So fluorescence is just you eliminate the sample, and this sample starts to eliminate or to excite or will be excited and also emit some light with other color. This is what we want to do. But we don't want to do it with a laser or something like that. We want to do it with some entangled photons or time frequency correlated photons. So how is it working is, normally you have your energy structure in your atoms or in your molecules. Maybe you heard it from your school. And then what you're doing is we eliminate the sample, and then some electrons jumps to a higher energy level, and then they are excited. But as everyone who is excited, they have to cool down at some point or at some time. And this will be also done. And during this de-excitation process, they emit some energy in form of another light, which calls fluorescence. All these processes needs time. So there are a couple of different time frames. And you can measure these time frames. And what you, in normal case, what you are doing is you use a pulsed laser source. So it means there comes a light pulse, illuminate the sample, and then you wait for some time and measure how the excitation is decreasing. This is what, for example, is shown here on the right side, and then you get an exponential decay function there. What we are doing, we are using, as the title said, time frequency correlated photons. So we generate them. Also here is the animation. We generate them 2 photons, which are generated in the same time. So one is going to one detector to start the clock, and the other photon goes to the fluorescence sample, illuminate the sample, so the fluorescence will be emitted by the sample, and we can detect the second photon with a second detector. And by correlating these 2 times, we get some histograms. So we get a lot of data here, and there it's where the trouble with the data starts, because okay, we get some counts, we get some times or some timestamps, but they have to process to get this fluorescence lifetime at the end. And there was at least where I was starting also to make more effort into data management, because at least this kind of technique, or this fluorescence lifetime measurements technique, is already known since a couple of decades. However, the source code for that, or the mathematical principle to get this, is not very or not well documented. So I was discussing with other authors from other publications. So they gave me the source code because they didn't publish that. And there I started, okay, I wrote the code to like doing the measurements or running my measurement program in the lab. I also coded the on Python the code for analyzing the data. And then finally we get some nice graphs and also some end results. And there the second trouble starts, okay, to found some reference values. Okay, we measure them by some of the colleagues. But it was also that we was searching in the literature for some comparison values for the fluorescence lifetimes we measured. And also there starts the trouble. So I have to use some AI and to research in a couple of papers to find one or two values, which is quite annoying and also time consuming. So it's, however, so to avoid this, so I publish all the stuff. So like the not only the paper, of course, in an open access way. So at first an archive, then later on a peer-reviewed journal. But we also published the dataset. And on this dataset, it was also, as I said, we have a couple of reasons to doing that because there was less information available for this, or it was hard to get the information what we need for doing this thing, this stuff. However, it was also hard for me to discuss with my supervisors to publish the data because, in particular, if you work at Fraunhofer or collaborate with Fraunhofer, which is very close to industry, they don't want to share any knowledge about the techniques and so on. However, I won the fight finally, and yeah, then I was finally publishing the dataset on Sedudo, and there, of course, as we heard also in the morning, I wrote a README with all the details, so not only the metadata, I wrote there also how the data structure is, how my Python codes are working. Then okay, here's the data zip file. There are all raw data. Then I also transfer the raw data, not only in a format which can read by Python. It's also transferred to CVS files, for example. And I put also all the images there, what we processed for the publication. Yeah, and what I put also in was the Python codes for running the measurement program and also for evaluating the data. These are all included in our data set here. And what I put also is like doing the review process. There was of course, coming comments from the reviewers, and I put also like a file just to read, okay, which changes was done in the manuscript. So you can compare the two versions which I uploaded on archive, and then I think it's also quite cool to know which changes was done during the process. Yes, so then this also brings me to the end of my very little presentation today. So I want to thanks, of course, to my collaborators. So at least Nitish and Patrick, which was also included to gaining the data or measuring the data in particular, and of course the supervisors, Markus Greve, Professor Christian Eckeling, and Valerio Gilli. And finally, of course, I want to thanks again to the TKFDM for the positive rating and that we won the award this year for our dataset. And the prize money we want to spend for hiring a student, which establishing the research data management guidelines and also a kind of data structure, storage structure in the research group of Professor Fabian Steinlechner for experimental quantum information, because this professorship was founded last year. It's a quite new professorship, but there's no structure for this at the moment, and it would become a mess if it would be bad if you don't start it directly at the beginning. That's the reason why we want to spend for this money. Yeah, then with this, I thank to all, and if you have questions, then you can also contact me personally.
Thanks a lot, Tobias. Congratulations again to you and your co-authors. I think you did a very good job also in convincing some people to get there. It's probably a very positive example how things can work. All right. Are there any questions to Tobias?